Lowdown Nation. We are back for episode 26. Yeah, 26 of the Lowdown with Matt. And tonight it's my pleasure to have with me Mr. Woody Hughes, who is the bassist. He's the bassist for a symphonic metal Christian band out of Indianapolis, Indiana called Divine Martyr. How you doing, Woody?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's been quite a week actually. You are since Sunday. You're the third live stream I've had this week, so it's just the way scheduling fell. It just turned out to be a wild week, but it's been a blast.
You're staying busy.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, I think the kids call it the grind. So
Yes.
so anyway, we'll get on to the business at hand here, Woody, and
Yes.
we'll start with the most obvious first question, and that is, how long have you been playing bass?
Not very long in the grand scheme of things. If you if you look at the rest of my band members, they've been playing pretty much their whole life, and I've been playing for 9 years. So I started playing guitar when I was. I'm gonna show my age now. When I was 30, yeah, I was in my early 30s. I played for about 8 or 9 years, and I never really really never got good. I just kind of like did a lot of tabs and um, played rhythm, which is kind of interesting. I never really wanted to play lead. I played rhythm, and then that kind of ushered me into playing the bass. And so I did that when I turned 40, and then yeah, I'm 49 now. So yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I'm also a converted guitarist. I played guitar off and on, more off than on, for the better part of my life. And then about 4 years ago, my son took up guitar and absconded with all my guitar gear. So so that Christmas, he and my wife surprised me with a bass, and I had never touched a bass, let alone tried to play one. And
Yeah.
started noodling around with it, and I discovered that I'd been a bass player all these years and just never knew it. So it's just kind of funny the directions life takes you sometimes.
I think it's kind of a like you either like are born with kind of like your personality is your ears are tuned to rhythm, or you're not. Like I think the most like the bassists I've talked, I mean, I really haven't sat down, I guess I haven't really sat down and talked to other bassists too much, but I think that like you kind of just have to have this groove kind of feel. Like when you listen to music, if you're keeping time with the drummer when you're listening to music, you're probably rhythm centric. And like if you can just like you can almost second guess on a song. Like when I listen to a new song, I can almost second guess what the drummer is going to do because I'm my mind tends to go to the rhythm side. So yeah, I just started going bass. I mean I started playing with my church pretty soon after. I just practiced just constantly, and then I started the band a few years after that, a couple of years after that.
Nice, nice. So aside from bass, and it sounds like a little bit of guitar, do you play any other instruments?
I don't. I was raised in a pretty strict Christian home, and my parents played. My mom's a pianist, and my dad played acoustic guitar. He also played dulcimer,
Hmm.
which you don't hear too much about.
No,
Uh,
you don't.
he had an acoustic dulcimer. I mean, it had a walnut in it. It was expensive. Like they made it by hand or whatever. He played that, and I was always music in my house. They sang as well, and so I've always been musically in tune. I have music playing from 8 o'clock in the morning until I go to bed at night. So
Gotcha.
my neighbors even like tell me to keep it down. So funny story. So I just bought a head rush, which is basically a stage monitor. It doesn't. I don't play. I usually use amp. I'm a big Ampeg guy, and I got tired of lugging this thing around. It was a combo amp, so I just got a head rush, which is what Jason uses. Um, and so I just use that uh, on stage, and it's pretty loud. And it vibrates. It vibrates my canvas back here, so it gets off. The canvas is off a little bit. And then my neighbor one night said, "Do you mind if you guys if you turn it down?" Like they heard it over there, and I'm like, "Yeah." My wife's like, "I told you to put your earphones on." It's great.
That's awesome. So, as far as your personal playing style goes, are you pretty much a fingerstyle player, or do you use a pick, or is it kind of a situational thing?
Definitely fingerstyle. Yeah, I don't play with a pick. Although I'm considering doing it. It's a learning curve actually. I've fiddled around with a pick, but it's different on bass than on guitar. You know, you've got tree trunks for strings compared to a guitar, and when you palm muting on a guitar, your pick just glides over the strings pretty easy. But with bass, it's kind of different. It's different. I also like the deep, meaty tone that you get with fingerstyle. You don't get that with a pick,
Right.
and I think although our music is a type of genre that you definitely could play a pick with and you get that punchy sound. A lot of guys even do it in studio. Like they'll play with a pick in studio, but I don't. I just try to adjust my finger style to get the most as much as I can to a pick sound when necessary. Like when Jason is like when him and I are doing like the same riff, like when I'm just following his chord structure and he's going back and forth,
Hmm.
I will kind of smack the string rather than pluck it. I will kind of just smack it a little bit all the way through, and that kind of gives a more of a clear tone. And you add my distortion on that, it adds a kind of another layer of like a rhythm guitar sound to it
Gotcha.
in the mix.
Hmm. So, tell me a bit about your current gear and your live setup. What do you play? What do you play through? Any effects, pedal boards, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's why I always make fun of like guitarists because they have a pedal board with like 400 different pedals. Although you see that less now, right? So Jason went from he had like a multi-processor. I think it was a Bose at the time, or a Boss, I believe. And then he switched to a Fractal, which has all the cab emulation in it.
Hmm.
And now he's got a quad core. I really likes it. Well, so I've basically always just played through I play a dark glass, so I have a dark glass pedal. Really like the sound. It's pretty much a standard with most metal basses these days. Anything coming from Finland, in my opinion, is good. So I'd like to try their amps actually, because they got an amp and then they have a cabinet which is made out of material that's not as heavy as like your typical combo amp from Ampeg or whatever. So I really like that sound. And then I'm a fan of Schecter basses. Um,
Hmm.
I've never played a 4 string. I started literally on 5. So like
Hmm.
when I go to play a 4 string, I feel like that my hand's just wrapping around like a piece of wood, and I just like it feels weird. So I'm so used to 5 string, and I play a extreme stiletto, which is kind of their lower version, and then they have an extreme stiletto studio version, which is much more expensive. And the difference is basically they make it out of a different type of wood. I feel like the neck's a little thicker, and they have EMG pickups. So they're active, and then the Schecter has, of course, their Schecter pickups on their lower end. Believe it or not,